You're listening to the Conference Board of Canada's Mental Health and COVID-19 series with Dr. Bill Howatt, Chief of Research, Workplace Productivity.
Hi, Bill Howatt, Mental Health, COVID-19, Conference Board of Canada. I'm here today to have a conversation with you on this beautiful sunny day. You'll notice I'm in my sweat top, trying to look a little bit professional. I zipped it up, but I'm basically running out of clothes because my dry cleaning capabilities have been diminished. And I don't have an iron, nor I just used to taking everything to a dry cleaner. So maybe that'll be something else I'll put on my to-do list, is to get a iron and learn how to do clothes. But I'm fine for today, and I'm sure I'll get some support in the near coming future. On a serious note, there's some of us right now, the real reality is we're going up on this slope. There's been a lot of uncertainty for a lot of folks, and anxiety is a very real phenomena. And I'm going to talk to you today about anxiety and give you some ideas to consider about anxiety. Now, I am a cognitive behavioral therapist. I've seen patients for 30 years. I have done a lot of work in mental health. This conversation today is not meant to be mental health treatment. This is mental health education. And what I want to do is to provide you a framework so that if you're going to go look at very reputable organizations or providing online cognitive behavioral therapy, you'll have a frame of reference to understand what they can do, but also I may be able to give you a couple ideas to put things in perspective to help you. Now, how I peg my brain around anxiety for lots of folks is like three real big things, maybe four emotions or feelings that drive around anxiety. Fear, uncertainty. Some of that can be done unconsciously. Some of it can happen consciously. So I don't have to be taught how to be scared. It just happens. There's a part of your brain called the basal ganglia, kind of the keeper of all information. It actually, when it picks up things, it can start to fire off and to let your motion system know, your gut know, your instincts, and all those different factors, your alarm system. And then there's other parts of your brain, your amygdala, where you can fire off your fight or flight response. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of physiology. Just want to let you know, fear can happen unconsciously. Worry is another one that can happen for people. And, worry and fear actually serve really good purposes, because fear is why we're the top of the food chain, because it's our alarm system. It kind of lets us know the challenge is when it's going off, when there's no imminent danger. So your brain doesn't know the difference when it's fearful between a saber-toothed tiger, and maybe someone that's frustrating you. The physiology can happen. So fear, and it's important, fear, regret, that's something that when we start to have something, we think we made a mistake, and we can start looping on regret. Or worry can happen to us. And the other thing that can happen to us too is with fear is rejection, like job loss and different. So there's all kinds of things that can create anxiety, and the root cause of it can vary. And two people in the same situation may perceive something different. That's important. So think about anxiety as your physiology speeding up, okay? And a part of it's defense and is trying to protect you. So, however, if it gets to the point where it becomes overwhelming, it can become really distracting, can impact your sleep, your mood, of how you behave with other people, and a lot of the cognition in your brain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mnemonic anxiety, and I'm going to break it down into three A's: awareness, accountability, and action. And we'll start with the A, under awareness. First, I want you to understand part of learning how to manage anxiety is to understand that our unconscious brain can throw thoughts up. And we have all these thousands of thoughts a day, and many of them we don't actually say, hey, can you throw a thought up now that I'm terrified? Can you throw the thought up right now that I don't like, myself, or I'm not this? Like, these thoughts just come up. First thing to be aware is just because we create an automatic thought doesn't mean it is true. So becoming aware that our brain is able to throw out automatic thoughts. So the A stands for accept thoughts are nothing more than thoughts, period, at the end. So we want to just get you to belief system, realizing that when you're anxious, automatic thoughts come up, and just because they happen doesn't mean they're real. That's step one. Now, next step, accountability. What's happening in this process? We'll start with the N. Now, Your brain has all kinds of neural pathways. So you can train your brain to be a nervous brain. You can train your brain to be a calm brain. So people learn mindfulness and meditation are learning how to train the brain to have a gap between the stimulus and the response. Everything that happens in life, there's a stimulus and a response. Inside that middle, that's a gap. And so if you can be aware of, if I'm an anxious person, the first thing is my neural pathways aren't locked. Meaning, if you're an anxious person, does not mean you need to be anxious all the time. Same thing as if you're 20 pounds overweight. If you choose to do something, you don't need to be a person with 20 pounds overweight if you want to lose body weight. Just to know, so the cool thing around this is that if you do things with intentional, you can learn how to change your neural pathways. That's important. Next, I worked in Wall Street, and one of the things, when you ever hear the word X double minus, that means it's about a Broadway show. Don't go. It means it's poor, it's bad. So the X double minus for you in this one is to be aware of that your brain may throw up thoughts that are poor representation of who you are and what your situation is. And what we call that is effect forecasting, that it actually starts to project what your thoughts are going to be and what they could mean in the future to you and how bad this could be. So in other words, she didn't call. That means she doesn't like me. I'll never get to see her. Now, there's no evidence because she didn't call had anything to do with you. She could have got a flat tire. So what happens is to be aware of our brain is capable of throwing up not only automatic thoughts, but thoughts that are poor for you, that are actually false about your future. Then the next thing to do is the I. So is to identify what we call troublesome thoughts. So part of it is if I accept I have these thoughts, that's my awareness, and then my accountability is I know my pathways aren't locked. I can learn new. Understand that my brain is capable of throw up thoughts that are bad for me. Yes. And now the next thing is to identify, ooh, that thought, I think I'm no good. That's not good for me. Or my life is going to be terrible. No, or I'll never get that. Oh, so you start identifying troublesome thoughts. Because what's happening is when you have in these emotions, you have all these emotions racing. If you can start to identify the thought and go, well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to say, well, that thought is troublesome for me. So starting that, become aware of the thought that's troublesome. Then we can move to action. We're going to move now to the E. We're going to move to what's called emotional regulation. You see, if you know and you believe that these thoughts can be automatic and they can be upsetting and they can throw off your physiology, then the first thing you want to be aware of is that thoughts come and thoughts go. And so what happens is the intensity of a thought can create a compulsion. So imagine you get that bad email, and I do this sometimes myself. You get an email and then you go, okay, and you just write back. What I'm trying to do now is practice more, is read the bloody email before I resend it, and really ask, does it really matter, or does my, don't get attached to the outcome as much. And if I do that, I'm creating a separation for myself, and I don't have to get myself, because we're allowed to have our point of view, but it's not allowing it to get ourselves into a spin. That's what the trick is. So emotional regulation is, before we react, we practice in our head, I need to be calm to give myself time to reset and to think. So understand emotional regulation. The thing is, I just got to give myself time and space. Might need to give myself 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then the next one is to look at the T, is to balance what's going on. So here is my troublesome thought. I know I'm emotional. I got to bring myself down. Now I want to balance it to what I want. And what I want to do is in my head, I wanted to learn how to take care of myself and learn how to get calm. And then what I want to do is just define a position on it and say to myself, okay, do I need to react right now? I know this is upsetting me. I know I'm frustrated. That's the thought. Do I need to react right now? If I react right now, how will I react? It would be helpful for me. And do I need some time to focus on what I could do maybe when I'm a little bit calmer than I am right at this moment? And if I gave myself 5, 10 minutes or 15 or 20, and I allowed that thought to say to myself, you know what, I'm not going to over focus on it right now because that compulsion, that's a part of training our brain saying, yes, I know you're there and I got it. And what I want to do is start to say to myself, well, I don't know if there's any evidence that it's true. It's just a thought. What if it's not true? What if I don't have the facts? What if it's this? What if it's that? And then you can quietly learn to start to debate your thoughts, and then you can start to negotiate with your thinking. Say, well, until I get the facts, I just don't know. So there's no sense of me getting concerned about this till the facts. I'm not in danger at this point in time. As we start to learn how to have those types of conversations, then we go to the why. That's yield our concern. And a lot of times when we're anxious and we start to understand how our brain's working through practice and through awareness, we can realize that the more we can move our anxiety from our unconscious brain, because we don't have to think about pain, we don't think about fear, the more we can start to move up to our conscious brain and start naming what's going on and paying attention and allowing those thoughts, because you can't actually, even the Dalai Lama will say to you, you can't stop negative thinking or negative feelings. So when they come, what your choice is what you're going to do with them. Cognitive behavioral therapists will teach us learning how what you can do with them. And the more we can actually start to realize that thoughts are just thoughts and not get attached to those thoughts, we give ourselves more space to rename the meaning of things. That can start to help to ameliorate anxiety. So the purpose of this is to have a conversation with you, for you to think about it. I don't expect in a short video you're going to master anything. However, what I will tell you is that cognitive behavioral therapy is one technique. It's one of many, but it's one I use a lot with clients. It's very powerful because what you're doing is you're helping people learn how to make decisions and learn how to take control of their thinking, which can help their feelings will follow. So hope you got a couple ideas out of this. Continue to have a great week, the best week you can. As I said all the time, we'll get through this one day at a time. Look forward to having another conversation with you. Have a good day. Hi, Bill Howatt here. Hopefully you're finding these videos of some value. If you'd like to share these, on the lower right of your video, there's a icon you can click. You can send it through your social media feeds, join the Conference Board of Canada social media feed so we can keep you up to date. And if you have ideas, suggestions, please leave your comments so we can consider them. And if you have things that you'd like us to speak to, I certainly will try to do all I can to help out. With that, have a wonderful day.